So I think most techies are going Bracer. I think Null's like reasonable, but I do think most of them are going Bracer because it gives you some HP regen and the 3 extra damage. And your hero also has 2.6 mana regen. It's kind of crazy how much mana regen he gets for free. Okay. Good start. Is there a reason you don't prioritize sentries for
No,
camp blocking and D blocking and stuff?
yeah, I typically do get a sentry at the beginning of the game. I don't know, maybe the gold wasn't adding up now, but I typically get a sentry. But
Okay.
yeah,
Because
it's
like right
important.
now you had a ton of gold from that first blood, so at the very least I would want a sentry now.
Right.
I'd say it's definitely inexcusable to not spend the 150 gold you have on a sentry and another, probably another blood grenade. That's like not as unreasonable, but I think you would definitely want to rebuy the blood grenade. Okay. Okay. So this is the exact moment where I need you to tell me how you feel about Faceless Void. You need to tell me anything and everything you know about supporting this guy.
So he doesn't do a lot in the lane. He doesn't contribute early on. He has a way to evade, so he's probably not going to die. But I don't think I can leave him alone because he's not getting CS if I leave him alone, especially with
Why not?
well, the Darkseer can pressure the lane pretty hard with his, I forget, spell
Ion
W.
Shell's not very good until level 2.
Okay.
Ion Shell. So, continue.
And yeah, I don't know. I felt like so what I know about him is that he needs a bit of help early on, but he doesn't die easily.
Okay, the thing about Faceless Void is that I am super self-sustaining, and I don't really do much for you unless they go on you because of time dilation. So what that means is you need to force the opponent to go on you, and that's usually best done by pulling. Because like if I see the Undying walking over here as Faceless Void, I can walk over and help you. So the thing about this is when it comes to spam pulling on any hero in any lane, it's a matter of how much my carry helps me and how much they die if I'm not there. Because if you think, oh, he's gonna get 1 or 2 less CS, but like you denied 2 creeps at the pull because Undying didn't walk over, then you won that. Period. That's
Yeah.
purely better than what they're getting. So a lot of people think my carry would get 4 CS, instead he gets 2. That's bad. But it's like, no, if he gets 2 creeps denied in his face, but they're solo XP, and you denied 2 creeps over at the pull camp, which is 0 XP for the opponent, that is better. That is just better. So what I'm getting at is that with Void, I would spam pull every single minute. I would want you to
Okay.
spam pull every single minute, but I want you to be able to apply that to other carries in the sense of how much do they help you and how much protection do they need. And protection means from death. If I'm Void, I can just defensively aggro. If that guy doesn't know how to defensively aggro to get CS, then fine, his problem. Questions? Otherwise, I'm going to keep going.
No, no, no.
Yeah, so the reason why I also want you to pull is because I think minimizing interaction against Undying is ultra important. Like, the more time you spend casually trading with Undying, the more this hero loves it. So by laning, not only are you making it so all the things we already talked about, but Undying is just... Notice how even Void's like, I don't want you to just lane with me. Do you see that?
Yeah.
He literally was like, why isn't this guy pulling? I 100% know this guy's thinking that. Why isn't he pulling? So, if you're learning support, so much about laning is understanding the core you're supporting. Even Toronto Tokyo said yesterday in his interview, because he moved to 5 recently from mid, actually the exact same thing you did. He said that he was trying to get his cores to do things, and like, because he used to play core, he's like naturally seeing things they should be doing or whatever, and all he noticed is like, that he's supposed to be catering his play to their play. And so a lot of times that has to do with their hero, but also the way they're playing. Your guy's playing more aggressively. Do you want to help him, or do you want to tank for him, or do you want to just pull? Like, what kind of heroes are you supporting? So I'm just trying to give you like the mindset of what a guy that, on a tier 1 Dota team that just swapped from 5 to 2 noticed, or from 2 to 5 just noticed,
Yeah, actually, I think that's a problem because I genuinely like to play aggressive support. Like that's why I pick techies in Veno and stuff like that. And if the guy that plays with me is position 1 or 3 doesn't go aggressive, then I find it irritating. But I don't adjust to his playstyle. Very
Yeah.
rarely do I notice his playstyle. I notice he's a hero, so I think about sniper needs protection, or Naga is or lifestealer is self-sufficient. But I think of the hero, not the way he plays the hero.
I see. So when they play a hero, that should set you up for a general expectation. What I would compare is I go into a basketball game and I look at a guy that's 6'8", and I'm like, huh, like he looks pretty athletic. He's tall. He's gonna dunk on us. And then you start the game and the guy's really clumsy and he's stumbling all over the place. I should instantly adjust to my perspective of what he's doing in the basketball game. I just say like appearances are what the hero is. Like you can judge based on his appearance of like what he looks like that he's going to do things, but then you still have to observe what he does. Otherwise, you're just basing it off of first impressions, which is wrong. So a big thing here is that I talked about this with Alaska, who was my 7K support student, that she realized it after I brought it to her attention how like all the best carry players seem to do exactly what she wants from them. And I was like, they're just adjusting to you.
All right.
That's all they're doing. Like, they notice what you're doing and they're adjusting. So much of skill in Dota is being able to see what's happening and know how you're supposed to respond to that. It's like, okay, this guy's playing overly aggressive. What can I do with that? Sometimes you can't do much. Sometimes you can follow him up. Sometimes you can change your item build. Sometimes, there's a bunch of different ways that every situation can be handled. So I'm just going to bring to your attention right now that this is something that you need to start thinking about is, first off, we're going to work on your understanding of each carry hero, because that's very important. I guess offlaners too, since you play 4. But also, we're going to start kind of paying attention to what our teammates are doing. Like, I told you at minute 1, I wanted you to pull, right?
Yeah.
Now, good. You went to a coaching session, right? You got told that a Faceless Void wants you to pull. What I want you to be able to do, say, like, you do these 4 sessions, you don't get another 4 sessions, and you go do your own climbing. I want you to observe and be like, I didn't think I should pull. Then Faceless Void walked away from the lane to go pull the camps.
Yeah.
Oh, huh. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like a simple observation. I don't need you to know this, right? I don't need you to know every hero now, because that's like completely unreasonable. You're new to the roles. Like, you were playing mid, which is like the complete opposite in regards to like the heroes you're interacting with in the laning phase. You're not familiar with carries, you're not familiar with offlaners in the lane, and you're learning your hero at the same time. But this is just the stuff where I want to show you that your teammates will show you.
Yeah.
They will. They will show you, even if sometimes what they do is wrong. So yeah, that's just like a very simple example, but that observation will pay off a lot for you over time. It's not going to be revolutionary every single game, but over time it'll pay off.
I did notice this with another game that I wanted to put the replay ID for today, but the other game was a Tide Hunter who was pulling by himself as I was position 4, and I keep getting this pattern of I'm interacting with the other heroes, I'm bullying them out or dying, depends. But then the core is starting to pull and do other things.
Okay. So, I'm fine with what I've seen in this lane so far. Let's pull up that other replay and see what's going on. Because, in terms of, like, actually min-maxing, and, like, I see the graph at 8 minutes. I'm not too concerned about what's happening in the other lanes, because that's just, for another time. What I want you to see is that you have a self-sustaining carry, and you could have been spam pulling. You probably could have an extra, 4 or 5 small camps of farm. And that doesn't mean don't fight, by the way. By pulling, you force them to come over here, which means that if the fight does happen, it's just better than it would be if the fight's up here,
Yeah.
Everyone that I've coached in the past that didn't pull, they tended to have this impression that pulling was passive. No. Pulling is just like an efficient move that might actually influence the opponent's positioning to be more aggressive. So don't equate pulling to passive, okay? What I'm imagining is your cores are pulling perhaps because they think the lane's in a bad spot. So maybe you're not thinking as much about your core's desired lane equilibrium. Where do they want the lane? Do they want it in front of their tower? Do they want it where they're not tanking creeps? Do they want it, like, what matters, And that's different for every hero. Go ahead and send me the Tide replay, and then we can always jump back to this one.
For this replay, I was thinking about looking together at my map movements past laning phase.
Okay.
Where, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. So why were you? I just want to answer your question from earlier, though. You said you were like confused or something about Tide. Like, what is your confusion?
So I'm trying to be aggressive because I think I can with techies.
Okay.
But then behind the scenes, I see Tide pulling a lane for himself. Is that good or bad?
That is
Should
good,
I be
what he
doing
did,
this?
yes. You could, but what happened here is fine. You're being aggressive and he's pulling. There's nothing wrong here.
Okay.
You don't have to always be doing like the same thing with your core. I want you to think like, what is a Tide gonna do underneath their tower? Is he gonna like gush them? Like, what's he gonna do? He's gonna like draw aggro from the tower if he attacks them. So what he's seeing is like, what you'll need to learn as a support is you need to learn what your core wants from you, but also that like you should play your own hero. You should trust that you're allowed to hit them. They can't do anything about it, but like he doesn't need to also be hitting them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like totally within your hero's power. Like what you did there was fine. Like the opponent had creeps underneath their tower, you were just hitting them, and then, you know, no danger to you, and you walked away. And you played your own hero fine there. So I want you to really, I'm not saying you're doing this, but I really want you to play by vibes of your hero and not quote unquote judge what your teammates are doing. I want you to think that anything you say about your teammates, I need it to be an observation. That guy is doing that. And then ask yourself, like, after the game or during the game, if you think you can, because it's a little bit more difficult during the game, of how does that affect me in the future if I had a Tide do that again? Am I fine to just still harass? Should I consider pulling? And it's like, well, why would a Tide do that? Should he have dove with me? Could I have called it? Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so you were talking about post-laning phase movements. You said Lone Druid just left, so let's fast forward a bit. Did you have a minute mark in mind, or?
I don't know, maybe 10, 12 minutes onwards.
Okay.
But even this one, like I jumped in the mid to help. I rotate to the mid and kills the mid when I can. I think that's a good move, but here I died.
Yeah, I mean, I think going for the rune, the Huskar has a 6-minute armlet, so this is... It ends up working out, to be honest, that Huskar dies there, but probably not ready for the 6-minute armlet. I didn't see you check his items. I don't know if you did.
No.
Definitely need to check people's items when you walk to their lanes. That's a really good habit to get into. You're going to walk mid, check his items. You're going to walk top, check his items. You're considering going bottom, check his items. I guess what I've noticed a lot when I watch support players is wasted camera time. I don't understand why you are checking the Lone Druid, for instance. Like, why is he what you're putting your camera on?
Because I'm thinking I want to pressure him, because I did it in the past and it was okay. So if he's gone to the jungle, I want to go there on top of him.
Okay, this is beautiful. I'm glad I'm understanding this. So, what's more important, making sure all of your teammates have a game or making sure they don't?
Yeah, I've seen this point before in another coaching session, is that everybody has a game.
Yes. The most important thing is to consider how is all of my team doing, and then I want you to think, how much freedom do I have to go do things? So, basically, I would want you to have considered babysitting this drow from Huskar with the idea of, okay, maybe you considered it and you thought you couldn't do anything, but that should have been like your first thought. Like, is drow okay? Is he going to get pressured? So, like, when you roamed mid there, if you had checked the armlet, you'd be like, damn, this is a really farmed Huskar. Like, we may need to be careful. It ended up working out that you killed him, but at the very least, I'd be like, Huskar has an armlet. What does Huskar like to do when he has an armlet? He's going to play like a... He's either going to hyper farm, like he's going to push out the wave and farm, or he's going to do this.
Right.
That's what Huskar is going to do every single time, I promise. So, what that means is if we're checking items or thinking about our individual heroes having games, you'd think Huskar's either going to go farm, or he's going to be aggressive. How does that influence Drow? Is that a hero that could possibly die to Huskar? What is Huskar doing? You know, these are things that's like, I just want it in your mind, because then you're making the right decisions, you know? You'd at least consider going here. So, if you win your lane, I need everybody to understand that if you win your lane, I call it secure your lane. And what that means is that if you don't feel like your core needs you anymore, you should first consider your other lanes before, like, following the carry. Secure lanes first. Before aggression, is what I'm going to say. I remember learning this lesson because I was in a pub playing offlane, and me and my 4 position literally were like 8-0 in lane, and we ended up losing the game, and one of my high MMR teammates, like really high, he was like a pro player, I don't remember who it was, literally was like, you guys, like, there was some argument, and he said, you guys ruined the game, like, you literally, doesn't matter how many times you kill bottom, they're mid laners free farming. You know? It's like, stop killing bottom. It's like, stop... Like, the Lone Druid's already fucking dead. He's jungling level 4. You know, deal with the Huskar who has an armlet, right? There's a big difference between pressuring and, like, shutting down. Which, like, he's already pressured. The Lone Druid left lane, you know?
Yeah.
So that would be something where, oh, he left lane, top lane secured. What if Lone Druid were to go back? That's maybe my only thought. maybe I could look to dive him, you know? But running into their jungle means you have literally nothing else to do. That's what that means.
Which is not the case.
Yeah, which is not the case, exactly. So
we ended up actually babysitting, I think, Draw later on. Draw was godlike by the end of the game because me and Tide played around him a lot. But I think he was mostly Tide doing the thinking, and I was just following him.
I see. Killed the bear. This is scary to me because I think if Huskar was here, he would have killed you guys. But instead, he's killing bottom, I guess. You have like a carry wyvern or something?
The wyvern started as mid. He said he can't play against Huskar.
Oh, so you guys lane swapped. I see.
Yeah. But the wyvern was the poorest player. I'll say that.
I think the spellcasting there could have 100% been better. I think you freaked out a little bit. I think what would happen here is you would, like, you'd get gone on by Pudge here, like in an ideal world. You'd get gone on. You would, so right here, you would start laying mines. Like you'd mine, you know, chuck the sticky bomb, and then maybe even channel your blast off at that point, because he's either killing your mines or stopping the blast off. So I think that was just a little bit of a panic. He dies a lot. Like you see, he literally fucking died to you without casting 2 of your mines. Okay. Okay, so you asked about map movements.
I didn't panic here.
Yeah, that was nice. That was well played. It's pretty aggressive that you're cutting their tower like that. I don't hate it, but I also think support deaths are like really bad right now. So all I can really tell you is if you die there, it's like really bad. So I would rather you tell me you were confident you were gonna live if you played well, or if you were trying to take a risk there. Because I think if you were just pressuring the tower with your ult and then like clearing the next wave when it got there, rather than like walking past the tower and pulling into the creep camp, like that's just a more aggressive version of what you were doing, right? So it's just not worth dying, basically. You know, last game I died like an idiot in my pub, and I was like, damn, I'm feeding. Like, it's so bad to give people kills right now. In future patches and in previous patches, that was not the case. But like right now, giving cores kills as support is like really bad. So
yeah, I know. I wasn't thinking about it actually, but it's just this vibe I get that around this time Techies is really strong, and doesn't die very easily because taser, because you know he just jumps off with explosions.
Yeah, and I'm saying if you knew your limits and you're like, I'm really sure I can do this, that's fine. I just want you. The main message is like, be very careful about dying, basically.
Yeah, got it.
Okay. I mean, overall, I've liked your moves here. I think they're very good. You're going meta items, so it's good. I do think you're overly concerned with the carry, based on what we've talked about so far and what I'm seeing with your camera. A lot of times in this part of the game, the carry is your concern only if you guys are winning. Usually you'll want to like hunt the guy if you're winning. If you're losing, you usually have to kill the people in front of him first, unless he's like clearly alone because they have like 4 heroes showing bottom and he's showing top, you know, something like that. But when the map's kind of spread out like this, the carry is usually not the one you would focus. You'd want to focus the guy that's likely playing aggressive on the map, which would be, in this case, Slardar or Huskar.
I was trying to focus Slardar just because we had vision.
Yeah, no, this is good. You guys are playing around your own wards. They're just kind of walking into your jungle blind. The overextension. Trying to get the Solar Crest off. Only the ward sentry being in backpack is what's wrong here. I think if you had warded the high ground there, it would have been really nice for that fight. Like during this fight, just plop a ward right here. Would have been really nice.
Yeah, I know.
Making sure.
Regeneration.
Somebody have a radiance? What the fuck? Okay. It might be because I'm fast forwarding, but I don't generally feel like you're collecting enough info in the game. So I really encourage you to like check your teammates' items a lot, check your opponent's items a lot. You can use just the top, you know. You can just click their heroes. If they're maybe even write down like once every 2 minutes you have to do like a this.
Yeah.
You know.
The thing is, I catch myself doing it when I'm dead. So in a good game where I'm not dying, I'm rarely collecting info.
And
So
that's
you're absolutely
yeah,
right.
yeah. So that's really important if you're finding like, oh, I should probably look at some things. You know, that's a good awareness to have. I mean, the thing is, like, I myself, when I play support, should gather more information. But since I'm like thinking so much about the hero I'm playing, because I don't play support very often, I definitely am like, damn, I should have thought about that. Should have thought about that. But like, as you play the heroes you're on more and more, this should become easier to do. So we just want it to be slowly but surely over time a focus of yours to be like as much conscious about it as you can be. It's understandable when you're new to the role and still learning these heroes that that's the case. Nice thing about support is you usually don't have to have a massive hero pool, since you can just pick whatever's meta in the first round of the draft. So you kind of learn to play other people's heroes rather than your own, which is nice.
So question, how often at this bracket stage I'm in, how often should I check out people's items or my teammates? Because right now I probably do it like twice a game.
Yeah, so whenever nothing's really happening in the game, I try to always think about what's going to happen next. And what that means is I don't need to know exactly where it's going to be, but I'll generally think like, where are our wards? So like, where would we like it to be? What part of the maps feel pretty safe for us? What part of the map feels dangerous to us? And then I think to myself, who's going to catalyze this? Like, who on our team is the strong guy? So like, if you guys take a good fight, who would be leading the charge?
Tide.
Tide. So what do? That. And earlier I saw Blade Mail Radiance, and I'm like, okay, this guy wants to farm, I guess. But now he has a blink. I'm like, okay, maybe we can do something with this. We can look to smoke. Or look to, like... So say I think bottom feels safe and top feels a bit dangerous because of your ward vision right now. If you look at these items and you combine that knowledge, you'd be like, huh, maybe we can camp bottom and let Tide farm it, or, oh, our Drow looks like she's in a bit of a precarious position up top. Let's smoke towards her, you know? And then, because you have the blink. If you don't have the blink, then you probably don't do that. You can just say, hey, Drow, be careful.
Yeah, wow. This thought process never even occurred to me, but you're absolutely right. Makes total sense.
So I'm just going to put in my notes, where is safe / dangerous? What heroes, I would say, affect that? Like, how are your heroes relevant to this? Like, oh, if we're strong, we do that. We're weak, we defend with this person, etc. So your answer to your question would really be there's no set number, but it's a lot about understanding, like I said, and it seems like you understood well, is like what things in the game matter, what things do we need to be aware of, and then because we're aware of these things and we know they matter, we'll try to ask ourselves the right questions, and then we need to get the answers. So we got to look up the facts, you know, the items. And these are what people have.
I notice when I watch pro players that they do it so fast. They open the tab with all the heroes. They look, they click, and you do it as well. It's like microsecond.
Yeah.
Then go back. I need like 4 seconds to identify what items a hero has, and does that make sense, or is that bad, or what has he queued up to buy next?
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, right?
Yeah, but it just feels so frustrating that I just don't do it.
Okay, let's nip this in the bud, okay? This is a mindset issue. I'm not like flaming you for having a horrible mindset or anything. But I want to wrap up our session with a quick perspective shift, okay? It's not fair to yourself to compare yourself to people who play this game like thousands of hours more than you. I love that you want to improve, and I think it's always good that we hold ourselves to a high standard and we are self-critical in a way that makes us want to improve. right? You know, you're like, that guy's doing it and I'm not. But I think it's really important that you realize what you do with that fact is a really big deal. So what I'm saying is there's a fact that there's something that a pro player does that you don't. That's a fact, right? That's just what it is. There's two ways to approach that. There's one that's like, wow, this guy does this so fast, it takes me 4 seconds, you know, I suck. Or it could be like, oh, it takes me 4 seconds right now, I should really like make sure I'm doing it, and over time, eventually it'll take me less time because I can tell it's a priority because they do it. I just want you to know, like, it's not fair to yourself to compare to players with way more hours. And the fact that you're aware that you're supposed to check items, you see that they do it faster than you, that's like, you know what you're working on. Easy. You know? Like that's something where I promise you, if you're conscious that you're supposed to do that, 6 months from now it'll take you 2.5 seconds, 2 seconds, 1.5. Like, it just depends on how much you play. But you know what I mean? Like, over time, it'll eventually get better.
Yeah.
None of these guys got there fancy. I used to do the same thing, by the way. I used to be like dissuaded or demoralized from like certain aspects of Dota because I just saw other people do it better than me. Whether that's play a hero, certain concepts, certain item usage, whatever. And I realized that like all that did was make me never do it, which sucks. That doesn't help at all. So yeah, I mean, overall, I think a lot of things you're doing are nice. Like, I see your rotations. So what our next step for you would be to make these rotations make sense to yourself, in the sense of you clearly want to think about the game, you clearly are taking a different approach to the game. So let's give you the right things to think about. I think that it sounds like you had enough to go off of with that one thought process. You seem like you're like, wow, that's a lot to digest. I tend to be how Dota is, though, by the way, or like things in general. Your perspective can be opened up by like one statement. You know, it's pretty powerful when somebody says the way they think about something and it just never occurred to you.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
very powerful.
That's really nice. Really nice.
It happens all the time, by the way, like all the time in Dota. Like, usually for me, people ask what I'm doing or what I'm working on, and it'll be like one thing somebody said to me like 5 months ago that I'm still processing. You know, like I'm still optimizing my like understanding of that because it's such like it's like a one thought. Like in this case, I told you a thought, but it hasn't everything to do with where you are on the map, what you're doing, timings. It literally affects like the entire game, right? So yeah, man. Any questions?
No, man. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank
See
you.
ya.